Hey, it is Xennial Gamer, and today we're actually not talking about Siege, even though I'm starting on this screen. We're talking about how to prepare for free rune removal. I'm starting on this screen just for those of you who saw my live stream yesterday, because this is the same Siege battle we were in, and I realized I never showed our guild rank. So we're looking pretty good in this Siege, and I believe we're going to make it back to G2 with a win, and this is actually one of the best defensive Sieges I've had in a very long time, so I thought it would be cool to start off on that screen. Okay, so today, as I said, we're talking about free rune removal. Now, before I jump into it, just one last thing. I want to talk about the Transcendent Scroll giveaway also, because we're just a week away and we've got about 19 entries left to give out. So we're going to give out 4 more off of this video. They're going to be random. So guys, just leave a comment, hit the like button, of course, subscribe if you haven't. And 24 hours after this video posts, we're going to use the random comment picker and we're going to pick 4 winners to get 4 entries into the Transcendent Scroll giveaway, which once again is next Friday night, just a week away. Now, to the video, just some basic tips I'd like to give you guys, because I know FRR can be one of the biggest, longest days in Summoner's War. And there's a few tricks I use to make my life much easier. Now, the first one is this application I have behind me, which is called Microsoft To Do. So here's the basic deal. You can see behind you, like where I'm circling right now, each of these is an individual list. So at the top, YouTube content ideas. So whenever you guys leave a good suggestion in the comments for me, I actually make a list of all the ideas for the content that you guys give me and I put them in here. So when I'm getting ready to do a video, I come back to this list and I look through and I see what I think I can do. Now, obviously, most of you are not keeping a list for YouTube content ideas, but here's where it matters for preparing for FRR. See these 3 lists right here, first, second, and third priority to rune. So what I do is when I build a new 6-star monster, I put it in one of those lists. Sometimes I build a monster that I'm not real excited to use just because I have the skill ups and it goes in storage. I don't ever really plan to rune it, and it'll go down here on my 3rd low priority list. That way at least I never forget about it. So the first step to prepare for FRR is make a list of all the monsters that you want to re-rune or to rune for the first time, and then put them in order by priority. So when we get to this list, I have not organized mine yet for tomorrow, but when we get to this list, I'm going to take my monsters to update, and they're probably at the top. So we'll see, like over here, I want to give Rakan better runes, I want to give Jean Will runes, I want to update my Perna, and so on. The second thing I'm going to want to do is rune my Elucia. And then probably Izaria. Actually, no. My second one's going to be Shimite and then Elucia, and you get the idea. So I'll make my list, I'll put it in order so I know how I'm starting. Then I'm going to go over here to storage, and I am going to put every single monster in storage. I'll also come out here and I will power up any of those like extra 3 stars that we see that we can do. And then I'll go put all my Rainbow Mons away as well. The reason I do this is because I am going to separate the monsters that I'm working on during FRR. So we'll sort by highest grade, and you can see I've got nothing left now except for some Rainbow Mon that are leveling up in Martial Cats. I have no monsters left down here. Okay, the next step is to go into the optimizer, assuming you're using the optimizer for the FRR. I do. Sometimes I don't use the exact final build that the optimizer finds for me because it doesn't always find every build, but I usually use it to give me a starting point at least. So I come into the optimizer and I put a list of all the monsters that I know I'm not going to touch today. So for example, Bastet, Ciara, and Odin. On this FRR, I'm not going to touch those. I'm not going to take a rune away from them, no matter what. This list will usually be a little bit longer than that. So know every monster that you do not want to take a rune off of, and then put them in this exclusion list. And the reason for that is because when you're running your optimizer, you may sometimes want to use locked runes. You may want to use runes from locked monsters, but you may not want to use runes from all of the locked monsters. So when you exclude a monster, even if that monster is locked and you put use locked runes, it won't come up. Now, before I exclude these monsters, what I'll do a lot of the time is I will actually come up here and double check. So like, for example, we want Bastet to be our fastest monster. And then after I come up with my Bastet build, whether I'm changing her or not, I will then go ahead and exclude her. So if I've got a new build for Bastet, then I update that build in the optimizer. If I'm keeping the build, then that's fine too, and I'll put Bastet there. Then next I'll come back up here and I'll double check my Odin. By this way, what we're doing is basically prioritizing our monsters on FRR. You go through all the monsters you use first and you do a quick check to see if there's a better build for them, or if you're happy with the build, you just put them straight in the exclusion. And then once we've got all of our different monsters loaded over here, you did your PvE teams, you did your favorite PvP monsters, maybe you like Rakan, Teshar, I don't know, it doesn't matter. But this list will keep growing, and then you go ahead and you say, okay, now I want to rune my Antares. He's brand new. So we load Antares, we run the optimizer, we find our build for him, we put our build on him, and once we're completed with him, we add him to the exclusion list as well. Now there's another side of this. Let's say that this is the build, the one that's highlighted right here. Let's say this is the build that I want to use for my Antares. So we click over here and we see that we're taking a rune from Rika, a rune from Iona, a rune from Omduat, Beretta, and a Rang. So my new Antares build breaks 6 different monsters. Now it gets really hard to remember all the monsters that are broken, and this is why we put everything in storage. So after we build our Antares, we come back over here to our game, and we go into storage, and we say, okay, we took a rune from Rika. So now I am going to take my Rika, and I'm going to put her over here. And we also took a rune from Iona and Omduat, and I'm going to put them over here. And this way, now I will never forget which monsters I've broken. So after I have done my Antares, this button up here, Equip Runes, I'm going to click Equip Runes so the optimizer knows those runes are on Antares. And then we come back to our optimizer, and now when we load up our Rika, it knows that she's missing a rune, and I can rerun Rika in order to fix her set, having already excluded Antares. Then I come back to the game, and because I have now fixed my Rika, I go ahead and I put her back in storage. And now I know that I just have Iona and Omduat who are broken. I'm gonna come back over to my Microsoft To Do, and I'm gonna look at which the next monster on the list is. In this case, it might be Shimite. And then I go back into the optimizer and I do Shimite, and so on and so forth. And then we get to a point where we've done a few more monsters and I'm like, oh hey, I've got Omduat right over here. I still need to fix him. And I go ahead and I do my Omduat. So that's the basic process I use, guys. Now, the last tip that I can give you to prepare for FRR is to jump into the optimizer a day or two early and start to figure out your builds, because the first few builds you do of the day always take much longer. So for example, we'll go back to Bastet because I recently pulled a really nice Resistance Swift 6 rune, which I believe I can use to upgrade my Bastet. Now what I would do is I would click on this build and it would save it up in this builds area for me. But the next thing that I need to do is go through each rune and write down the rune number in the exclusion list. So this rune is ID 1035. And this is 1192. So we come over here and we exclude 1035 and we exclude 1192. We go back to our build and we repeat that through the whole process. Now, the reason I'm excluding runes instead of builds is because I'm not actually changing the runes on my Bastet yet, and I want the optimizer to be accurate. So what I'm actually doing is setting up to build my next monster while the optimizer is still accurate, but I'm excluding the runes that I plan to use for my Bastet. So now if I want my next build to be Odin, and I want to try and put him in Fatal Will as well, I come up here, I run my optimize, and then, although this is probably not the build I would take, let's just pretend I did. I click on this, and then I add these runes to the exclusion list as well. So now I've got 12 runes excluded, and let me move over so you can see what I'm talking about. So now I've got 2 builds up here at the top that I'm ready to go for as soon as it hits midnight and I can start my FRR, and I've got these runes over here excluded. And let's say I want to boost up my Fran next. I do the exact same process. So you can actually spend several days identifying the builds you want in the optimizer before FRR. You save your builds up here and you just exclude the runes from each build. Now, it's really important you exclude these runes because what's going to happen if you don't is, let's say that you're trying to re-rune both your Bastet and your Triton, and they're both going into Swift. So you find this build for Bastet, and it's an awesome Swift build, but you never excluded these runes. And then you load your Triton up, and you find this awesome Swift build for Triton down here, and you don't realize that it's using the same runes as the Bastet build, because you never excluded those runes. So I come over here to this one, and we see rune 533, and it just so happened that rune 533 was also what was in that Bastet build. Then on FRR, you find out you haven't really prepared the way you thought you did. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time. Hey guys, if you're still with me to this point, then that means that you probably liked the video, found it entertaining, or even better, both. So please smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below, because those things help the channel grow, and more importantly, they show me that the video is useful, and that's the whole reason I do this in the first place.